Welcome back, Star Citizens. Astronesto here, and it's Aegis Day at IAE 2951. Let's take a look at what Aegis has on the floor, and I'll give you my take on everything, as well as what I think might be a good and bad buy out of this show today. Anyway, please join in a conversation. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my assessment of the ships in the comments below, and just remember, by leaving a comment, that enters you in a chance to win a Nomad starter package. Alright, let's get going. Alright, like most of these IAE shows, Aegis has rolled out the Reclaimer as the centerpiece in the main hall, and this time it's flanked by the Sabres. So you can't really ignore the Reclaimer. I mean, this ship is just massive in every sense of the word, and it's basically going to be the capital ship for salvage, which I think is going to be a great gameplay when it's finally introduced to the game. But where we sit today, it's not in game right now, so you can't use it for that, and it's basically just a good roleplay piece in my opinion. But it's a great roleplay piece. I mean, the interior of this, which we're not going to go into because it's going to take forever, really reminds me of like the alien style of ships. Aegis does that in general, but really great for role-playing. You can kind of see that maybe in a org of scavengers or salvagers, you know, this is going to be a great ship for, you know, a team of salvagers to like play around with. And this massive claw arm is just, I mean, it's just awesome to look at, isn't it? I mean, doesn't it kind of take your breath away just thinking about this massive thing coming out and the fact that it's going to be able to grab ships and pull it in to be scrapped? It gets me excited. I mean, just look at this foot here in comparison to me and that NPC. It's just a massive ship. You know, and flying it is a chore. Getting it in an atmosphere is kind of a big deal. I'm kind of getting a sense that it's probably designed to stay in space, really. But yeah, the Reclaimer. Can't say enough good stuff about this one in my opinion. Really gets me excited. But I'm a guy who likes big industry ships. So definitely I recommend you guys check this one out and rent it if you can. It's only available for sale during IAE, or unless you get those special packs. Okay, a ship I really don't know too much about is the Sabres. The Sabres are stealth fighters, so if you're into that sort of stealth gameplay, you should be able to do that in this ship. These were pretty cool at one time. I know that they're pretty popular with a lot of people, but I don't really, it seems to have fallen out of favor, and I don't know why, so maybe one of you guys can explain that to me. I like it. I had one. It was a really cool ship to fly around with. I melted it for something else because I'm not really a combat person, but I think I would have kept it. The other reason I didn't get it is I also ended up getting a Saber Raven, but that's another story for another time. Which, interestingly enough, I don't know why they don't show. I don't know why they don't have the Saber Ravens on the floor. At least it's just to show it off. I know it's, a very limited ship, and you had to buy it through getting this Intel. I believe it was like an Intel item where you got a code for that ship. It's a very cool ship. I'll have to do a separate video on that one. But you would think, since Anvil's always teasing the F8, that they would have the Saber Ravens out. I personally don't like this paint job, so it doesn't really appeal to me to get this variant. And, I don't really see an advantage with this one. I know the weapon layout is slightly different, but, to me, these are ultimately games you should buy in, excuse me. To me, these are ultimately ships you should buy in game. And those are my totally random thoughts on a Saber. I don't think I was qualified to really give you good advice on it, but, again, I'd kind of fall back on the rule of fighters, fight in game. Okay, so right behind me is the really imposing, massive Aegis Hammerhead, which is a corvette that is basically a gunship. I mean, the king of gunships, if you think about it. It's got six size 6 man turrets, I believe, and a pretty decent missile payload with, I believe, 8 size 5 missile racks. I think they come stock with size 3s, though, so you probably want to upgrade that, but this ship is just a beast to deal with on the battlefield, as you can see. Let's go take a look inside. I'll show you something else that I really love about this ship, which is the interior. which also kind of continues that Aegis aesthetic that I was telling you, that if you're a fan of the Aliens movies and how those ships look, you're really going to enjoy being inside an Aegis ship. So you can see here the hallways and everything like that really stay in line with the Aegis design language. Very Spartan, basically designed for one thing, kicking a lot of ass. And Hammerhead does that well. One thing I don't like about the Hammerhead, though, is the position of the bridge, which is under the front of the ship, if you can call it the nose of the ship, which obviously resembles a hammerhead shark. You know, it looks really cool and everything like that, but the fact that you can't see above you, you don't have that visibility above you as a pilot, kind of bothers me. You do get used to it after a while, though, but you know, for a ship that's going to go into the battlefield, I would think you'd want as much visibility as possible. But I mean, I just love this bridge and the way it's laid out and everything like that. It's freaking awesome. So the other thing that I do not like about the Hammerhead is the fact that the pilot doesn't have any weapons, not even like 2 size 2 lasers, you know, something puny like that. So it's definitely multi-crew only, which at the end of the day is the reason why I ended up giving up this ship, because, you know, for me, not having a full crew to man it, I just didn't find myself using it that much. Alright, standing behind me is the Aegis Gladius Valiant edition, which it's pretty much similar to a standard Gladius, except the weapon loadout is slightly different due to an unknown reason, which I don't know off the top of my head. Sorry, I'm not the best person to talk to about fighters, but this is basically a light fighter. It's very maneuverable. It had some recent updates, so there's some nice compartments and accessible items on the outside of this ship to bring it up to modern standards. I find it to be a very fun fighter to fly. However, it is a light fighter, so, you know, if you need something with a little bit more beef or a little bit more armament, you may want to look elsewhere. I think these are just really cool fighters, though. Price point on a Gladius isn't too crazy. It's just a little bit more than an Arrow, and I think it's probably a little bit better overall than an Arrow, just my opinion, although I think Arrows are a lot more... Arrows are pretty fun to fly also, so I guess it's kind of a push and kind of depends on what you which one you prefer. Let me know what you guys think. If you have more experience with the Gladius than I do, let me know if you really enjoy flying it and, you know, what your thoughts are on it. All right, March of the Penguins. Well, this is all the variants of the Avenger are on display here at IAE. I believe this is a Titan Renegade, which, you know, sports that really cool paint job and also a slightly modified weapon loadout. You don't really have to get the Avenger Titan. I mean, the Avenger Renegade. Titan Renegade. Excuse me. But it is a pretty cool ship. Does everything the Titan does, which... the ramp is not fully out. You know, it's just basically a combat freight light fighter. But here's one of the reasons why I like the Avenger and I kind of push it as a great starting ship, is because it comes with a bed, which just gives you a place to log in and out of the game. Don't believe it has a bathroom, but it is a starter ship, so I can excuse that. You know, it's got a cockpit over here. It's great at flying. You know, it's Aegis, so it's definitely going to be able to handle itself. You can even eject this as like an ejector seat, so it'll push you out of the cockpit. So you can arm this up pretty nicely, do some bounty hunter missions. Because you can carry some freight, you can get into a little bit of some trade. You can also do some box missions back here. Also, PTUV buggy, I believe, fits back here. And when the hover bikes get into a better state, you'll be able to put them back here as well, too. For the longest time, this was like my pick as like the best starter ship that you could get. And for me, it still is kind of the best one, although the Nomad, which is now considered a starter ship, does give this a run for its money a little bit, and we'll talk about more about that on Consolidated today. I think if you're looking to get into the game, you know, you may want to take the cheap route and get the Auroras, which I talked about, you know, in the last video. But if you're willing to spend a little bit more on something like this, you'll get a lot more value for it. So that's why it's kind of like my recommendation. And the Avengers in general don't really, they're not breaking the bank, I don't believe. So I'm a Space Penguin fan all the way. I believe this was like the first or second ship I got in game. So the variants all have different roles. This one right here is the Warlock, which has a really cool EMP device in the back. If you watch that commercial, you get an idea of what it was designed to do as far as knocking out electronics. It's really cool. Stepping in here is probably going to erase all the data on my Moby Glass, or probably prevent me from having children in the future, but it is a really cool looking thing. But would I recommend buying this one? No. I mean, stick with the Titan because, you're really not going to get a lot of use out of this one. Right now, electronic warfare is not really developed in the game, in my opinion, yet. Well, let me know. Some people will probably refute me on that one. Over here, probably have the Stalker and base Titan. Yeah, this is the Stalker. This is the first or second ship that I bought in game. And the reason why I got this one is I was kind of in love with the fact of the whole bounty hunting aspect of it. I mean, you can see this one comes with cells here in the back. More cells than any other ship I can think of outside of maybe possibly the Cutlass Blue. But it's pretty impressive that it's got this back here. So if you're really into being the Mandalorian, this is like the ship for you, more or less. I think it's going to be really cool when you can actually put people in those cells, right? Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Anyway, the Avengers, the Space Penguins, can't say enough about them. Love this ship. Don't think having one in your hangar would be a bad thing at all. I don't think you would regret it for what it is. Moving along, so this is one of the big newses to come. Is that a word? This is one of the big stories to come out of IAE this year, the Redeemer, which it's kind of interesting that it's called Redeemer, right? In the sense that this ship had such a interesting history as far as being pitched by backers in the next Great Starship competition, I believe, to having so much controversy with people liking it, not liking it. When was it going to come out? It kind of changed roles and functions and iterations. So does it really redeem itself? I actually did a review on this one. I didn't have enough time to edit it and get it out before the show. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's still a pretty interesting ship to me. So, you can kind of tell by the way it looks that it started out life designed to be a dropship. However, they decided to go with the Vanguard, I believe Hoplite for that one. So they relegated this one to being a gunship. So I kind of like to think of it as like a baby Hammerhead, because the arms that it does have on it are pretty impressive. And the interior is pretty great too. You've got like a small little storage area here. Got bunks for the crew. Wardrobe out here hanging out. I mean, this is just a really great ship. And there's a massive array of guns on this thing. You got the rear turret back here. There's two huge, I believe, size 5 turrets that players can get into. One under the belly and one above the ship, which is really awesome. Then the pilot can control this one down here, which I believe is a size 3. And then the pilot also has, I believe, a size 3 or size 4 guns that are on the wings as well too. So this thing is, it's definitely armed to the teeth. Definitely a scary ship to face. What I don't really like about it though is it feels like you're driving a Mack truck. I mean, trying to fly a Mack truck. The look of it I'm kind of okay with, but the reason why I'm kind of harping on the handling is, I mean, it has on the wings here this special thruster system that kind of opens up like a clamshell. So you would expect that, that's allowing this massive thing to maneuver better than it can, and taking it into battle I found to be a little bit challenging for the combat challenged like myself. But I think this is going to be a great ship though for, especially like pirates. I mean, this would be a scary ship to have. But of course, not just pirates, mercenaries, and lawkeepers and all that stuff. I kind of opted for this one over the Hammerhead because of the lower crew. These wheels are kind of throwing me off as well too. It's kind of weird to see wheels in a ship like this. But going back to my point about this versus a Hammerhead, I like the fact that the pilot had weapons, and the fact that for a gunship, you can pretty much crew this with just 2 people or 3 people and still be pretty effective in a lot of at least PvE missions. So for me, I think it's probably a little bit more practical than a hammerhead in the sense that you'll get more mileage out of something like this. Because, I mean, how often are you going to have enough people on to crew a hammerhead? And how many situations are out there like Xeno Threat where you can really pull that out? So, at least for where the game is right now, I kind of lean towards this a little bit more. However, this is kind of weird to say, but I think the hammerhead might actually feel a little bit more maneuverable when you fly that. So I'm hoping that they'll make some adjustments to the flight model on this ship. So those are my thoughts on the Redeemer. I hope to get the full review out soon and that it's still relevant by the time it does get out. Anyway, let's check out what else is left here for Aegis. Alright, I almost totally missed this room. Welcome to the Boom Boom Room, where we've got the Aegis Eclipse over here, the stealth bomber, and the Aegis Retaliator over here, which, as you can guess, is designed to retaliate. Now, just to get on a little rant here, isn't it kind of interesting that Aegis has so many ships that start with R, and it's very confusing for a guy like me who's aging to keep it all straight. You have the Retaliator, the Reclaimer, and now the Redeemer. What is their fascination with ships that start with R? And all are named after a purpose. But anyway, that's just me. Rant over. Let's talk about these ships. So the Eclipse is the stealth bomber of the game, and if you hadn't noticed, it also resembles the stealth bomber, so really creative there, CIG. This stealth ship basically has torps, and that's about it. I mean, it does have some laser weapons on it, I believe, but they aren't too helpful. So right now, this is kind of like the ship that you're gonna use if you're like, are you like that PvP guy who likes to hide behind a corner, wait for somebody to appear, and then go boom? Well, this is probably your ship because you can stay in stealth mode, and when somebody appears, like your bounty mark, then you can just unload your torps on them. And, you know, if you're really good at using this ship, they probably won't have much of a chance if you really know what you're doing. So if that's your style of gameplay, then this is probably the ship for you. Now, I'm a little crazy, so I personally bought it just so I could get the Best in Show skin last year, which was pretty cool. But then I promptly got rid of the ship because I didn't really find it that useful for me. But if you happen to be a Eclipse pilot out there and you see it as more useful than I do, please let me know what I'm missing. Alright, moving along, here's the Retaliator, which I believe comes in 2 variants. There is the base, which is a deal right now. I think that's something you should definitely explore because it's going to have some modules you can plug into it. And then the bomber, which is pretty cool, but there's not really too many situations you can use it for. Like Xeno Threat, this is one of the ships that they were, you know, pushing. They're like, hey, we finally got a use for it. So the interior is okay inside this ship. It's not really my cup of tea, and I'll tell you why. Don't get me wrong, it's kind of cool inside here, but I also find it to be kind of tight. That's kind of why it's not really my thing. However, this is really cool that you can see your payload and why this thing is called the Retaliator. If somebody messes with you, they get a whole lot of this. But yeah, as somebody who doesn't come into this ship often, I find it like a little confusing to navigate around here. But I suppose once you get used to it and you're a crew on this ship, it's not such a big deal. Speaking of crew, I believe it's crewed by a crew of 3. Could be wrong there. If I'm wrong, I'll put one of my famous messages at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, it's a little bit of a maze to me. You guys know how I love mazy ships. That's a turret. Yeah, so when the layout is kind of crazy like this, I tend to get lost a lot, but doesn't necessarily mean that you might not be better at navigating around stuff, but more so than me. I'm sure if you use this ship a lot, you probably would get used to it. I'm just very particular. Anyway, that's the Retaliator to me. I can't say it's a bad ship. However, when you look at the price point for the base, which is a much deeper discount, I think I would kind of lean towards there if you're interested in getting a Retaliator. For me, I personally am probably going to go in a different direction. Alright, and here's another room I almost missed, the Vanguard section, which would be a shame if I missed it because it's pretty much my favorite fighter in the Aegis lineup. These are heavy fighters that are decked out for different roles with the variants, but I really do enjoy using these ships. The Harbinger is like the most decked out one and most expensive, but it also has torpedoes on it, which are pretty useful, especially if you're going to do something like Xeno Threat, but it's also armed well enough to handle small and light fighters, which is why I like it as well too. Vanguards also have a pretty good interior in here. I believe it's pretty much like a full service bathroom in here. Yes, we can't go through the conference without talking about a bathroom at least once per day. I definitely want to work that in. So the bathroom for Aegis we're going to talk about is in the Vanguards. This one is a full service chalet, if you will. So you know I like that. You can take a look at your torpedoes here. I love that it says, you know, with love. Somebody with a good sense of humor at Aegis decided to put that in there. Me personally, I probably would write. Anyway, above you've got the turret on top. I believe the cockpit is over here. So each one of the variants are a little bit different because they have different roles, but you're basically looking at this floor plan here. And the other reason why I like these as heavy fighters is that they can take more of a pounding than a smaller light can. Obviously you're going to trade off with some maneuverability, but look, I'm not a great combatant and I find that I can make out pretty well with these. Only problem is, like the Harbinger, I can't really recommend a price point. I was, you know, me personally, yes, I admit I was crazy for buying one. Warden is a centerpiece here. Basically a heavy fighter. I believe that's a Sentinel, which is like the electronic warfare version. And the Hoplite, which is the dropship, I couldn't get into because the ramp was giving me a hard time over there. But that one has drop seat seating. It's kind of interesting to think of these as a drop ship, right? But I believe I was reading it that this is what replaced the Redeemer in the dropship role because it was able to fit inside the Javelin. So anyway, that's my look at the Vanguards, which are really good ships. I really do enjoy these. Not sure I enjoy the price point though. Alright, so you guys know me, I like to save the concepts and ground vehicles for the end. So we're going to head on downstairs and see what Aegis has for us. Alright, no ground vehicles for Aegis. I mean, come on Aegis, we can do a little bit better. Even Anvil has ground vehicles. I think it'd be really cool to see what Aegis would come up with for a ground vehicle. Alright, so that just leaves the concepts. Let's check out the whole room. Alright, so this looks like it's going to be the Vulcan, which is like the AAA ship of the galaxy. I think the nearest competitor to this is going to be the Crucible, also in concept. And the reason why I say that is because the ship's role is to repair ships and to refuel them. Definitely a support ship. It handles a lot of those repairs instead of having a hangar by using a drone system where the drones will actually go out and repair the ship. So would I buy this one? For some reason this one hasn't appealed to me at all, and I'm pretty crazy. Most ships usually do appeal to me, especially in concept. But I think I kind of lean to a Crucible over this one because I feel like the Crucible with the vehicle hangar is going to be more useful in being able to transport ships as well as work and repair on them. Plus it should also be able to fix a wider range of problems So I don't think this one's too bad, but it's probably going to be something I would buy in game if I buy it at all. Like I said, I'm going Crucible. All right, this is the Nautilus, which is going to be the mine layer. I'm not really big into laying mines. I'm not that guy who likes to leave tacks and nails on the floor and go around a corner and watch somebody step on it and go, ha ha. But hey, I mean, if that's you, I'm not trying to knock it. I just think, it's an expensive ship that just fits a niche role, and I don't like spending a lot of money, especially real world money, on something that's going to be relegated to such a specific role. But, it does look like it's going to be like a large ship. I'm not sure if they consider it capital size, but I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me. But if it appeals to you, let me know why I'm wrong and why I should get more excited about the Nautilus. Alright, so I think I finally made it through all the ships. So let's talk about the best and bad buys of the day. Alright, best and bad buys. Starting off with the Avenger Stalker. Probably a pass for me. I don't think this is the Avenger that you want to get because it trades out some cargo hauling capability with the bounty hunting cells, which don't have functionality in the game as of yet. However, the Avenger Titan, I think this is the one. This is probably the best value of the day here because to me, this is the starter ship that is going to be able to springboard you into a little bit of some cargo hauling, has the bed for you to log in and out of, and also allows you to do some bounty hunting if you want to get into that game loop or maybe some box missions. So I think at $55, it's a pretty good price. This was hands down the best starter ship until the Nomad kind of came out, and now that it's priced as a starter ship. However, it is priced a little bit more than this, and I think that's probably because it has the ability to carry a larger vehicle like the Rock in the back, whereas this can only carry the PTUV buggy if you're into carrying vehicles. So still, if you only want to spend $55, I think this is the way to go. And it's only like $10 more, I think, than the highest priced Aurora. So for me, I still think Avenger Titan probably the best starter ship to get. And at $55, you're not breaking the bank, so way to go with that one. Avenger Titan Renegade, awesome paint job, slightly different weapon loadout, not worth $75, sorry. So, I mean, if you're into the Avengers and you just want to have this variant just to say that you have it, I mean, I guess that's a personal decision, but I'm going to say it's a bad buy. Avenger Warlock, it has that nice EMP for knocking out all the lights in the city. You should watch that commercial. It's really cool. However, I'm going to give it a bad buy for right now because for $85, you really can't use it that much. Ooh, the Eclipse at $300. Bad buy. I'll just say that off the top. It's a niche fighter with a niche role. Very limited in what it can do outside of the basically stealth bombing aspect or stealth torpedoing aspect. And once it's out of torps, what's it going to do, right? So at $300, I don't like it at that price point. I think you could put that money down on something that's going to be a more valuable ship in this lineup, like maybe the Redeemer. But that's just my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. I think this is definitely something you should probably buy in game now. Gladius, $90. That's not terrible. It's not too bad, although, it's priced more than an arrow. And I don't think it's that much more valuable than an arrow. Let me know if you guys agree with me or not on that one. Valiant at 110 really doesn't feel like a good buy to me, even though, it's a slightly different loadout, a little bit more lore reason for why you're having this fancy Gladius in your hangar. But sorry, 110, I'm going to give it a pass. Hammerhead at 725, definitely a bad buy. It's kind of relegated to one role more or less, and it does have I forgot to mention that the back, it does kind of like a small cargo bay area, but I don't think it's large enough to carry a tumbrel. If it is, it's going to be really tight just for a Cyclone. Definitely not a Novatonk. Aside from that, definitely you need to have a crew to fly this one. So this may be something you want to earn in game anyway, because it'll prove that you have a strong enough org to actually buy it in game. But, once you cross that $500 threshold, you really got to be a good ship for me to recommend. And even $500 is a lot to spend on one of these. So at 725, definitely bad buy. Earn this one in game. Idris P at $1,500. No, I'm sorry. I can't recommend spending this kind of money on a ship. And I'm not saying that I haven't spent this kind of money on a ship. We'll talk about it in Drake Day. But I don't think that it's something that I would recommend other people doing. I don't think it's the sound decision to make. And again, this is the type of ship where you're going to need a strong org or at least a good crew to be able to handle it and to keep it serviceable. So, do you really want to take that kind of chance unless you know for sure that your org is going to stay together long enough to actually make it to the release date when this comes out? So, for me, it's a pass. I don't want to knock anybody who's got an Idris. More power to you. But yeah, it's just that's a lot of money. Sorry, bad deal. Javelin is $3,000 now. Wow. Well, anyway, this I should mention that the Idris and also the Javelin are limited sales. So by the time you're watching this, the buying options probably aren't there. Like if I click on this right now, I'm pretty sure I can't buy it at this point. Not that I would. Yeah, sold out. Sold out. That's just too expensive. Oh, and this pack down here for all ages at almost $9,000 USD. Definitely too expensive. You guys could buy a car for that price. So, yeah, not feeling this. The reason I'm not feeling it is, to be really useful, you do have to have that crew. Me personally, I don't have an org that I'm in that I feel is big enough to man something like this. I probably could join a larger org, but with my schedule, I don't think I'd be active enough to keep people happy anyway. But yeah, I mean, I did the Javelin tour. I have that video up of just a tour, which didn't do too well. People didn't really like what I did there, which is just show what the tour was actually showing people. I didn't want to like speak and ruin it. But yeah, $2,000. Sorry, not really feeling this one. And by making it such an exclusive sale, they really tap into people like me who suffer from FOMA, that fear of missing out, to drive us to make a decision hastily, which I did, and we'll talk about at some point in this convention. But it wasn't a decision that I was proud of living with. So I don't know. For me, recommending no. But obviously personal decision. If you feel like you can drop $3,000, feel good about it, and also man this ship, then hey, more power to you. But for me, bad buy. Nautilus, the main layer, 725, bad buy. I just feel it's a niche role. Too much money to spend on something like this, where, if that's something you really want to get into, I would say try to earn it in game. But it's kind of crazy, I think, for this one to be priced at 725 while it's in concept, because we know when it's closer to release, it's going to be even more. So maybe I'll have to do a deep dive video on this one, do a little bit more research, and figure out what all is in there that's making it worth 725. But off the bat, I'm not feeling it. Moving along, Reclaimer at $400. I feel like this one's going to be way more valuable than a Nautilus as far as its potential to make more money for you. Not crazy about the price, but heavy industrial salvage ship, which I think is going to be a lucrative gameplay loop, and this is probably the king of salvage. It is going to need a crew though to be the most effective, so that's something else to consider. But I think at $400, it's really not that bad. So I'm going to say it's an okay buy. I feel like it would be a better buy if it was a little bit cheaper, but I don't think you would regret having this one. The only problem with it right now is that gameplay loop for salvage is not in here right now. But I think this will probably go up in price as salvage gets introduced, though, even though it's already flight ready. I mean, look at the Caterpillar, which is getting a price hike, and that's been in game for a while. So more stuff to consider. But yeah, okay buy. Redeemer at 325. Well, it's better value than Hammerhead in my opinion. 325. It really didn't go up too much in price. I'd have to look at that over the last year. People bought into this in the concept. I mean, more power to you. You got it at a great price. Right now, it's not at a great price. I think this is probably something you should earn in game. So I'm going to say bad buy at 325. Retaliator base, I'm actually going to say is a good buy at 150 because this one is modular from what I understand, and you'll be able to swap out that bomb bay for something else if I'm remembering this correctly. Let me know, guys, if I've got it wrong. But I think the base at this price, not a bad price for a crew capable ship. Because when you look at the bomber, we're going to move on here to the Retaliator bomber. That's at 275, which I think is a bad buy at that price. Now that they keep on wheeling out Xeno Threat and keep reloading that event, looks like maybe once a year or whatever, they'll probably stir up sales for this, but I don't like it at that price point. Try to get it in game. All right, the Sabre, the stealth fighter. We talked about this one a little bit. I think 170 is a little overpriced for a fighter, so I'm going to call it a bad buy for what it is, even though I like the ship. Sabre Comet at 185, an even worse buy. I wish I could say worse buy. That would be great, but no. Bad buy. Try to get this in game, although it's a limited sale, I believe. So if you were to try to buy it, I think you can only get it during IAE, but I could be wrong on that. Vanguard Harbinger at 290. Bad buy. One that I fell into. I love the ship, but definitely you should earn it in game. And that's probably going to hold true for all these Vanguards. This one, the Hoplite at 235, which is mainly a drop ship, I think is a bad buy. Vanguard Sentinel, great looking ship. I love this ship, the way it looks and everything like that, and the function of it, to kind of like knock out the electronics of your enemy, but sorry, 275, bad buy. Same thing with the Vanguard Warden, bad buy 260. So Vanguards, we're giving them all like a bad rating as far as the buy goes. But it's a good ship, and I recommend trying to earn it in game. Vulcan, repair, refuel, rearm, with its drones. I really don't like the way that this one works. This picture pretty much shows it pretty cool, where they're dropping out drones and they're going to go and repair the ship for you and stuff like that. It's definitely like the healer of the party. So if you're in a mercenary org or what have you, and you're with a group that's going to be doing some heavy fighting, this is going to be somewhat valuable, pretty good price point. I just kind of lean towards the Crucible more. I don't know if this one is better armored maybe for battle, which maybe makes it more viable, but I still feel like for a healer, I would probably feel better earning that one in game. So it's going to be a bad buy for me, even though it's at 200. And since we're in the V section, that's going to wrap it up for the Aegis sales. Let me know what you guys think, if I got it right or wrong. Alright, well, Aegis has a lot going on as usual. Obviously, Aegis and Anvil always have a lot of ships. They always bring it to this expo, so there's going to be a lot of walking around and a lot to see. So as usual, stay hydrated, people. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for our look at Aegis Day. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at it and found the video somewhat entertaining, if not helpful. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe on it. I really would appreciate it. It helps me out a lot with the channel. And as my thanks, if you leave a comment, I will enter you in a chance to win a Nomad starter package when we hit 300 subscribers, which we're pretty close to. So I think it's going to be time pretty soon to announce a winner. Just need a couple more subs, people. So please help me out, ladies and gentlemen. I really would appreciate it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and wherever you are, hope you're staying safe out there. We'll see you next time.